I see where you're going
Win a
with the
Super
D.
Bowl first, and then you could possibly say dream team. Then you could possibly say dynasty. Your franchise has never won a Super Bowl.
Nope. Never won one. Zero. Zilch.
Never won
Nada.
anything. You have no right as an organization. I understand it's individuals who are saying this who are part of your team. But you do not have the right to use that D word, my friend. Do not.
No, I don't
have
get
it.
how you think you have the right to use that word when you haven't even been to what they won one playoff game in the last like 3-4 since Vic's been their starting quarterback.
Yep.
You haven't even made a NFC championship game. You haven't done any type of real impact in the playoffs at all. You've been an up and down regular season team. And oh, by the way, you play in the division with a team that's won 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years.
4 years.
So how can you even try to call yourself a dynasty? You're in a division with the team that's on top of the mountain. You're looking up at the team that's in your own division and are also on top of the mountain. Now, I believe his quotes were, not exactly saying we are a dynasty. I believe it was more he believes that they can turn into a dynasty. Eagles can build a dynasty. And I don't get where the ridiculous amount of confidence comes from.
Well, I can see where the confidence comes from, especially after last year. The last 4 or 5 games, it went 4 or 5-0. I can see that confidence, and they're saying, if we continue from what we did last season into this year, yeah, I can see that. But games are not played on paper, my friends.
Yeah, and that's what he's using it based off of.
They are not played on paper.
His exact quote, when I look at our football team and what we have on paper, I think about when I was growing up in the great San Francisco 49ers teams, the great Green Bay Packer teams, the great Dallas Cowboys teams, how they just positioned themselves to compete and be one of the best teams out there. I think we have a chance to be that. I think we have a chance to develop a dynasty. And it's just like, how far off you sound with that kind of comment? How ludicrous it sounds to say we could build a dynasty when you haven't even done more than win a playoff game in the past 4 years. Now, I get, you look at them on paper, yeah, they're really good. And Nnamdi Asomugha, Jason Babin, Colin Jenkins, Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, Trent Cole, traded and added DeMeco Ryans. They drafted the defensive tackle. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I apologize for that. But I get why you can look at them on paper and say, oh, great for you. But let's go back over the past 2-3 years. The paper champions have not even done relatively close to good. They were the dream team last year. The year before that, the Jets were the best team because they brought in Cromartie and LT and blah, blah, blah. Oh, great for you guys. It's awesome. Did you win a Super Bowl? No. Did you get to the Super Bowl? No.
Nope.
Now, the Jets did make the AFC Championship game that year.
Back-to-back years they went.
So I'll give them that. They were the paper champions of the summer, and then they made the AFC Championship game. So I will give them that much. At least they did a little bit of backing up their talk. Or their paperwork, I guess you would say. But it's not like they are... No, I don't. You just don't walk out and guarantee things in the NFL.
No, you don't
especially
guarantee
the NFL.
it. But Miss Doobie, a.k.a. Marissa, writes in our chat room that she's an Eagle fan, and she's not even excited this year to be an Eagle fan. And actually, I'm a little surprised by that because if you're an Eagle fan, you should be excited going into this year. You do have a good team, but you can't run your mouth because you have 2 other good teams in your division where you might not even make the playoffs. More than likely, the NFC East always beats each other up where only one team comes out of that division.
Yeah, they used to be able to pop in 3. They used to get 3 in there on a regular basis, but they're not really, like Joey said, they beat themselves up, and they push themselves, which makes them better and more of a challenge when the playoffs come. But let's be honest, for a Philly standpoint, you're playing in one of the toughest divisions in the league against Dallas, who talent-wise is really good. Now, what they do when they actually get on the field, we don't know. The Giants, defending Super Bowl champs. Washington Redskins, a team with a great defense, and now added their quarterback. So let's really see what they could turn into. I just don't see how Philly can sit there and say we got dynasty. And then you look at the rest of the NFC. You know, we've had a different team win the Super Bowl. Had 8 different teams win the Super Bowl since 2000. And that includes 3 Super Bowls for New England, 2 Super Bowls for the Giants,
what about
and
Pittsburgh?
2 Super Bowls for the Steelers.
Crazy. That's
So
actually
that's 7 Super Bowls out of the 12. That's 3 teams. So that means the 5 other years, 5 different teams won the Super Bowl. You know, Dark Knight says it perfectly. They expected Vic to do what Vic did when he was in Atlanta. The biggest issue with Vic is the simple fact that the man cannot stay healthy for a 16-game season.
That is his biggest knock right now.
You know, or Dark Knight says it earlier in the chat room. Look at the dynasty teams of before, the teams that Vic mentioned, the Niners, the Packers, the Cowboys. I don't really see how the Packers are considered a dynasty. They won 1 Super Bowl in the 90s, but whatever. We'll let them be in there as well. You know, they all played as teams. You know, you look at the Cowboys and you say the big 3. You always look at that offense as Irvin, Smith, Aikman.
Yep.
And then a solid defense. You look at San Francisco, Steve Young, solid defense. Or Joe Montana, solid or Jerry Rice. And no matter how you look at it, these teams had a group of guys that loved each other and worked together. The Eagles, as Dark Knight points out, at least as of last year, they looked like a whole bunch of individuals looking for individual stats.
I like Dark Knight's name. I'm not going to front.
I do too.
I like that he's Dark Knight. Bro, what is your real name? That's what I need to know.
Yeah, that's true.
Are you Batman?
At least find us on, Facebook or something, Dark Knight. We need some kind of name or something. But anyway, it's cool being anonymous with the Dark Knight too. Nobody's mad at you. You can stay with it if you want to. It's cool. So Jeremy's saying the New England Patriots are going to have an insane year, win the Super Bowl, and people are going to start talking about dynasty again. Look, the New England Patriots, to me, can win the Super Bowl. They've had the talent to do it numerous times over the past couple of years. I think what happens, though, is their defense is too young. It just seems to be that. Their defense just seems to be a little too young to handle the pressure of the playoffs. At least that's what it seemed like last year. Then you go back to 2007, their defense was too old. Even though they were 16-0, their defense was too old. They couldn't handle the energy and speed of the Giants. I don't know. All I do know, bless you, all I do know is the fact that the Eagles are far from being a dynasty. It's
One
that
step
simple.
at a time in the dynasty land.
Get to the playoffs, win a couple playoff games. You know, I really think
Make a
that it's too
championship.
soon to make that kind of comment. It's
You
that simple.
can make that comment 5 years ago when they went to 4 straight NFC championships and went to a Super Bowl. They were
In
an
the
NFC
Donovan
dynasty.
McNabb days.
They were an NFC dynasty, not an NFL dynasty, but they were.